Have you ever wondered who would win in an epic battle between two of the most powerful military forces in history? The Romans, with their invincible legions, or the Mongols, with their lethal speed and clever war tactics. Although both empires dominated the world in their own way, one was 1,000 years ahead of the other. How would they face each other if they were on the same battlefield? Rome, at its peak under Emperor Trajan non AD, ruled almost the entire known world from the coasts of Britannia to Egypt. Meanwhile, in the 13th century, the Mongols under Genghis Khan swept through everything in their path, establishing the largest contiguous empire in history. Two extraordinary empires, but separated by 1,000 years. But what would happen if these two giants of history faced off in a direct battle? The question is fascinating but difficult to answer, as although both dominated their time, their tactics and technologies were radically different. With the Roman military organization, with its relentless formations, be enough to withstand the speed and cunning of the Mongols. In this video, we'll explore how their forces would compare and who would have the advantage in a direct confrontation. Get ready to find out. Let's dive into this epic battle of history. The key to Roman military power lay in their legions, an organizational structure that allowed them to dominate for centuries. Each legion was made up of thousands of soldiers, divided into small but highly trained units. Roman soldiers were known for their iron discipline, their ability to form impenetrable battle lines, and their prowess in hand-to-hand combat. Roman formations, like the famous testudo, were a display of their tactical skill. This defensive system, where the soldiers aligned shoulder to shoulder, covered by shields, was nearly impenetrable to projectiles. Moreover, the Romans' ability to advance in compacted rows gave them a significant advantage over their enemies, as long as they could maintain the formation intact. Romans also had advanced military infrastructure. Their engineers could build fortifications, camps, and bridges with astonishing speed, which allowed them to move efficiently and establish operational bases in conquered territory. However, despite all these strengths, the Romans were not invulnerable. Although their army was formidable in close combat, they lacked heavy cavalry in their early century. Roman cavalry, essential for fast movement and agile attacks, didn't reach its full development until well into the reign of Hadrian. Around this lack of mobility put them at a disadvantage against more agile and fast-moving forces. In contrast, the Mongol army, under the command of Genghis Khan, was the antithesis of the rigid Roman structure. The Mongols stood out for their mobility, flexibility, and the speed at which they could deploy on the battlefield. Their main weapon was not heavy infantry, but riding as a complete unit, moving at great speed and shooting with deadly precision. Mongol cavalry was famous for its ability to shoot arrows while riding. They used a composite bow that, unlike traditional bows, allowed them to shoot with incredible strength and precision, even at distances of up to 350 meters. This long-range attack capability gave them a significant advantage over enemies who fought in close combat. The Mongol strategy was as innovative as it was effective. The Mongols didn't just fight aggressively, but they also knew when to retreat. The tactic of feigned retreat, where they pretended to fall back to lure the enemy into a trap, was just one of many maneuvers the Mongols used with great success. This tactic was based on cunning, something the Romans were not accustomed to facing. Additionally, the Mongols were not only fast on the battlefield, but also in communication. They used a system of mounted messengers, allowing them to coordinate attacks on multiple fronts, which made it nearly impossible for their enemies to anticipate their movements. In summary, the Mongols had an overwhelming advantage in mobility and unconventional strategies, which allowed them to attack, retreat, and attack again without giving the enemy time to react. Now it's time to compare these two legendary forces, the Roman legions and the Mongol cavalry. Although both empires had impressive armies, the key difference between them lay in their fighting style, and the conditions of the terrain. The Roman legions were organized in coordinated formations, but highly dependent on discipline and structure. They were relentless when they could maintain their formations and advance as a unit. But this organization, which was their greatest strength, became a disadvantage when the enemy did not adhere to conventional battle rules. On the other hand, the Mongols were the complete opposite. Their flexibility and mobility allowed them to attack and retreat quickly, never committing to a prolonged fight. They could attack from a distance with precise arrows, change direction at full speed, and surround the enemy from multiple fronts simultaneously. Additionally, while the Romans were experts in close battles, the Mongols were experts in guerrilla warfare. This allowed them to wear down the enemy without ever engaging in direct combat, something the Romans didn't know how to handle efficiently. In this sense, the Mongols' strategy was much more unpredictable and adaptable. As for military technology, the Romans relied on their siege machines like catapults and ballistae, but compared to the Mongols, their siege weapons were limited. The Mongols, on the other hand, were already using gunpowder in the 13th century, giving them a significant technological advantage. This allowed them to use gunpowder bombs and advanced war machines that put the Romans' weapons at a disadvantage. So who had the advantage on the battlefield? The Romans, with their organized formations, had an impressive ability to withstand frontal attacks. But the Mongols, with their speed and unpredictable tactics, could easily break the Roman formations, attacking from all angles and wearing down the enemy army before it could even react. Now, imagine an open battlefield. On one side, the imposing Roman legions formed in an orderly front, with their shields aligned and swords ready. Opposite them, the Mongols dispersed, but with a clear advantage in mobility and strategy. The Romans, with their tightly knit and well-trained formations, advance relentlessly. But the moment they enter the range of the Mongol archers, the landscape changes. From a distance, the Mongols begin to shoot their arrows with deadly precision. The Romans try to form a shield wall, but the arrows keep raining down on them, slowly wearing them down. Instead of facing them head-on, the Mongols quickly disperse, attacking multiple points at once. They use their mobility to surround the Roman legions, never giving them a clear target to focus on. Every time the Romans try to advance, the Mongols quickly retreat, only to attack again from another angle. What the Romans can't anticipate is that the Mongols aren't fighting to win a direct fight, but to wear down the enemy. The Romans, seeing themselves constantly surrounded and attacked, begin to lose the cohesion of their formations. The enemy isn't interested in hand-to-hand combat. The Mongols know that their victory lies in attrition. The battle progresses, and the Romans' exhaustion is palpable. Their once impenetrable ranks are now fragmented. Meanwhile, the Mongols continue attacking and disappearing into the distance, using their feigned retreat tactic to lure the Romans into ambushes. Although the Romans are firm and determined, they have no answers for an enemy that doesn't play by their rules. The battle drags on, but the outcome seems clearer with each passing moment. The Mongols have the advantage thanks to their mobility, flexibility, and strategy of attrition. In open terrain, the Mongols' advantage seems unquestionable. Their speed, lethal arrows, and ability to move as a fast, flexible unit make them an almost unstoppable force. Despite the organization and discipline of the Roman legions, the Romans did not have the tools or tactics to face such an agile and cunning enemy. The Romans were an unstoppable war machine, but only on battlefields where they could impose their organization. In a confrontation with the Mongols, where mobility and strategy prevailed, their technological and tactical superiority would have been too much to resist. However, we cannot forget that the Romans were masters of close combat, and their ability to endure was legendary. The Mongols could not underestimate them, for the Romans knew how to fight with relentless determination. But in a direct battle, the Mongols would certainly have found a way to wear down the Roman forces until their organization collapsed. So, who would win in this epic duel between two extraordinary empires? While the Romans were a formidable force, The Mongols, with their speed and cunning, would have had the advantage in open, unrestricted terrain. Now we invite you to think about this. How do you think this confrontation would have unfolded if the conditions had been different? What do you think about this clash of giants in history? Leave us your thoughts in the comments, and as always, share this video if it surprised you. And if this battle fascinated you, we have another video for you to continue exploring the mysteries of the past. See you in the next video.